Hey y'all, my name is Sosa.
My name is Avery.
And welcome to the Brunch Club. Let's get into some stories.
Okay.
AITA for making my girlfriend leave the country. So, this is my first time posting on Reddit, so forgive my errors or if the format is weird. I also can't give too many details as my girlfriend and a lot of close friends are avid Redditors. I, 28 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 27 female, for 5 years. We met in college where she was an international student. She started working after graduation, while I am currently doing a master's. Her company was sponsoring her visa until it got bought out and she got laid off. She was given a limited time to find a new employer to sponsor her a new visa. It really stressed her out. She was applying to jobs every day and did a lot of interviews, but unfortunately wasn't able to get an offer. She really wanted to stay since she loved the place and would still be here in the country. While I was out with a buddy, he suggested I sponsor her visa since we have been in a relationship for quite some time. I love her and I don't want to see her stressed out, so I told her about the idea. She was hesitant at first. She said she didn't want me to think that she was with me, so I would be her permanent residence or citizenship to the country. I wanted her to stay. I wanted to do it. We consulted an immigration consultant and decided to do the paperwork on our own. She was the one who mostly looked into the stuff we needed to prepare. She still applied for jobs, but not as urgently as she used to. It took a while since we had never really had anything joint. We lived together and just split our bills on our own. She had enough saved up to be okay for a while. I had to fill out some paperwork to be her sponsor, and I felt uneasy about it. I did want her to stay, but it felt like it was too much. Eventually, she was done with her part, and all that was left was mine. I finally told her I didn't want to go through with it. She was very upset and asked why. I told her that I suggested the idea because I didn't want to see her stressed out all the time, and that I eventually realized I shouldn't have to be responsible for her. We had a long talk where I told her that I still want to be in a relationship with her, but I just don't want to be forced to be responsible for her. She said she felt very hurt by what I said. Things changed, and she didn't really talk to me after. She kept applying for jobs and attending interviews, but eventually her visa expired. Before she left, I told her I loved her and I would really want her to come back. However, she told me that she sees me differently after the things I told her.
Fair.
It's been a few weeks since she left. I miss her cooking, her presence, and being able to spend time with her. I still want a future with her. However, our close friends have been telling me that I was in the wrong. I disagree. I think they're biased. So here I am asking Reddit what it thinks. AITA?
I'm sorry. You're asking your close friends, and they said, yeah, you were in the wrong. And he goes, I don't know.
Right.
So, okay, refresh me. Maybe I need, some more background on, the whole sponsoring a visa thing. So, what goes into that if you're a person sponsoring someone's visa?
A lot.
Okay.
We can Google.
I'm just curious to fully understand what was happening, because I get a little bit of that. If you're international, you need a visa to be able to be in the U.S. if you're not a citizen.
Let me see. Visa sponsorship, visa requirements. Let's see. So, you have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to live in the U.S. at the time. You have to be over 18, and you have to meet all the financial requirements.
Okay.
So I think that when he's saying be responsible, he means the money, but he literally said that she has money saved up, which is
that's
what's
what I'm
crazy.
saying, and that's not like she's gonna be. It's not like she's not gonna be working,
right? She's
so,
still looking for a job.
That's what I'm saying. And to me, the only oh, she was looking for a job less would be she just flat out was not looking ever since she told me that I was gonna sponsor her. Other than that, I think, she was probably working on it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, honestly, I felt like she was like working on like looking for a job, and he like just didn't even like, it didn't even make sense when he was like, oh, she's looking less. Of course she's looking less. She's spending some of her time trying to apply for this visa.
Right.
She's looking less because she trusts you that you're going to be there for her. Like, what exactly do you expect? You know what
Correct. I mean? And I just think, like, he says, I mean, like, I'm sorry I didn't want that responsibility, and I know you have to go back to your country, but could, like, we still work it out? I'm baffled.
That's what's baffling? It's the offering and them being like, but I just didn't want to be responsible.
Never mind.
He's like, actually, that's a little too much for me.
That would be like, not even close, but like kind of sort of in the same ballpark of like, oh yes, let's live together. And like you living in this place is like reliant on your job or something like that. Like us living together is kind of like crucial for you to have these things happen in your life. And then being like, ooh, so I don't know how I feel about it anymore. But you know what? You're such a good cook, and I love having you around.
No, so literally.
I think that we should give it another shot.
I miss her cooking, her presence.
It killed me. Is that the first thing he said, too?
No. It's the last thing he said.
No, but like the first thing he said of like, I miss her.
Yeah.
It was like cooking.
No, literally.
What else? Her presence. How do I say that more romantically?
He could be like, I miss the way that we took care of one another. I miss the
friendship,
love we had.
our teamwork, our compassion for one another. Anything. Not just cooking.
Like, bro, a Google search, synonyms, please.
Well, because, and again, not sure how this works, but like, when can she come back to the country then?
Oh, we're gonna see.
Okay. Oh, great. Yeah. Excellent.
But so there is an edit before we get to the follow-up post.
Okay.
So the edit says, I have read through a lot of comments and everyone seems to think I'm in the wrong here. To those asking what my responsibilities would be, I forgot he answered it. I would be financially responsible for her for 3 years. If she gets any government assistance or social welfare, I would have to pay it back. I also can't sponsor anyone else until 3 years have passed. I need a pause there.
Are you like actively looking to sponsor people?
He literally didn't even know about this. And he's like,
he goes, do you know I can't sponsor someone for another 3 years after you?
That's so much responsibility. Like what? I can't bring my second girlfriend. That's the vibe. Like, I can't. Oh my gosh.
Like, did you know anyone else that you wanted to get sponsored?
Didn't you say your friend told you about sponsor? Like, literally, it's not adding up.
I just am like, that's a really, really great excuse.
Yeah.
Don't you know? I have big plans, like sponsoring tons of people, and you're weighing me down right now.
Yeah.
Also, just the financial responsibility part. I'm not understanding, like, what he's really financially responsible for. She's working. She has savings.
Mm-hmm.
What is he worried about? That she's just gonna, like, up and quit? And then, like, then he's stuck with her kind of thing?
It's so weird. But we all know that if he was serious about her, how many years into this relationship are they again?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, he would have just married her by now. 5 years in, the man would have just married her by now if he was really serious.
5 years?
5 years, and he let her get deported, babe. He let her get deported.
Okay. 4-year relationship is me and Luke for the camera. But, like, I cannot even imagine that. Like, Luke being like, oh, God, I have to be financially responsible for her. As if he doesn't know me. Mm-hmm. As if he hasn't known me for 4 years. 5 years.
Wow. I imagine you being like, hey, Luke, if you could just, like, take a little bit of responsibility in our relationship right now so that I don't get deported. And he was like, bye.
And he said, oh.
Like, what?
You know, my neighbor needs me to sponsor him in like 2 years, so I don't really know if this is gonna work out.
I can't be responsible for you like that. I need to be open to sponsoring other people.
I gotta be open to sponsoring other people.
That's ridiculous. But please. Then he goes on to the things he missed. He said, also, I listed what I missed about her in no particular order. I listed that I miss her cooking first, but it doesn't mean that I don't miss her.
It was only because I was hungry, okay?
Right. So I was just feeling that a little more at that moment. Like, I can't. That doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Came to mind. I mean, you can't blame me.
Please. And then the next line. To the people who said I'm probably an immigrant too. What does that have to do with anything? My parents moved to here. Oh, to where we. It's interesting sentence structure. I'm just gonna have to read that. Like, I'm just gonna have to.
He misses her grammar too.
So
it's fine.
Please. So yeah, to the people who said I'm probably an immigrant too. What does that have to do with anything? My parents moved here, so I'm here now. Yeah. I still stand by what I said. No one I know has done anything like this, and it just doesn't feel normal. I would want to eventually have a home with her, but I don't think anyone should have to be responsible for another person's decisions or their circumstances. It's just gaslighting if you convince someone that they should be. I don't know if anyone will see this edit since it's been a few days, but I have updates, so I'll probably do a separate post when I have time. Now, he was very wrong about that.
I'm so sorry.
But we're going to get into these updates because this does, in fact...
Oh, my God.
Yeah, this is, in fact, yeah.
A
really terrible story.
It's the audacity. I can't believe... That's what I don't get is the fact he still thinks that there's a future.
Oh, yeah.
Financial responsibility of your spouse is kind of part of what comes with a marriage.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying your spouse is, like, totally financially responsible for you, but you guys share expenses.
Yeah.
A lot of responsibilities.
But yeah, one of the top comments underneath that post is, well, congratulations, because you won't have to worry about any of this anymore since you're clearly single now. She said she will find a way back to the life that she loved in the U.S. with a sponsor who isn't a total moron, but you will absolutely no longer be a part of her life. That moment ended when she left. YTA, you have a lot of growing up to do, apparently.
Lovely.
The way that they chose that burn was like parental disappointment burn.
I would love to believe that that's one of the close friends too that made like a Reddit account and was like
said I would know this story anywhere.
They said, I know exactly who this is. Mm-hmm. Your time left.
Jared,
that sponsor is me, and I've been waiting for my moment to come back.
She said, actually, I've been in love with your girlfriend for years.
Actually, you're lost. That would be an amazing update.
Oh,
that would be.
Don't get too hyped because it's not.
I know.
This is not a happy story, babe.
God. Oh no, it's getting worse.
But he's crazy. You'll see.
Okay. You'll see. Okay.
But yeah, so on to the update. I traveled to her over the weekend. She didn't have time to sell her car before leaving, so she contacted me saying she did some paperwork to transfer the car to me. I do understand that she felt hurt, so I told her I would buy a plane ticket to go see her. She had never once went back to her home country after moving away, so I've never visited her home country. I wanted to show that I'm very serious about her and that I'm still committed, so I wanted to fly over to visit and talk things out. She immediately turned me down, saying the flight tickets are expensive and I still have to work. I begged her to let me, and she eventually said she couldn't forget the stuff that happened and she couldn't come back from it. I explained my side again, and that while I understood that she's hurt, I shouldn't be forced to take responsibility for her, and that I hope that she would be understanding of that. The conversation was long. She said she could never trust me again. She said I never saw a future with her from the start and that I abandoned her. She said it wasn't just the sponsorship, but it played a big part in it. In the end, she told me that she still loved me, but she doesn't think we should be together. So yeah. But wait, I think that this is a moment in which you're thinking, how can it get worse?
It seems like it's pretty done.
Oh,
you know, like a sane person, this is over with.
Oh, no. I don't think it's not even what he does. It's no. It is a part of what he does. Okay. So on to the next update. And right now I'd like to give a little trigger warning for mentions of suicide. If that is something that you're uncomfortable with, please skip to another story. I swear our other stories are less graphic. And there should be a timestamp in the description, hopefully. Okay. My ex-girlfriend committed suicide after she broke up with me, and everyone is blaming me. I, 28 male, posted before about my ex-girlfriend, 27 female, and why we broke up, so I won't get into that here. We dated for almost 5 years before we broke up. A couple weeks ago, I received a sum of money from ex-girlfriend. This happened while I was sleeping, as we were in different time zones, so I only saw it when I woke up. A message was included with a deposit that said, hope this helps to pay off some student loans. It wasn't a huge sum, but still significant. So I tried to contact her, but I couldn't reach her. Fast forward to last week, a mutual friend of ours went to check up on how she was doing, but they couldn't reach her either. They Google searched her name and the country she was in, and through Google Translate, they found out that she had committed suicide. No one knows exactly when she died, but most probably soon after she sent me the money. No one could find anything about a funeral either. She wasn't close to her family. She didn't have that many family members in her country. Other friends found out about it too, and since then, everybody has been blaming me for her death. Obviously, I'm devastated by it too. However, I think it's unfair for people to say that I'm the reason she killed herself, or that I could have helped her. She had depression before when we were dating, and I've always managed to get her to get over it, but problems still did come up from time to time. She was also the one who broke up with me after I tried to make things work. This incident has very negatively impacted my relationship with my friends, as I work with some of them in school. Some very close friends have also stopped talking to me. What do I do? How do I convince them that this wasn't my fault? And how do I get my friends to treat me normally again?
That's what you're worried about.
I just think that there is a place in hell.
I
just feel like, what? I can't imagine.
Like, here's the thing.
Like,
do I think it's like totally fair for someone to be like, it's completely your fault? No. Do I think that you clearly played a role in an event that obviously was a big factor in that? Yeah, you did. Because I'm taking a hot guess that she's from a country that's probably not great. And that's why so badly she didn't want to be there. And so that combined with her getting kicked out, she tells you no to trying to get back together, which the fact that you tried to do that after that is pretty baffling.
Insane.
I don't know. It's just like, you know that she must have been really going through a hard time. And like, you know, she had depression prior to that. So, you know, obviously she's someone who's probably struggled with those ideations before. But it's just like, he's more concerned with the fact that his friends see him in the wrong than the fact that, like, the guilt that you would have from that.
Literally.
Because I know me personally, I would be racked with guilt.
Eaten alive, babe.
Yeah. I don't... And you're concerned with... I mean, like, I know she didn't have any family or anything. That's sad. But, like, my friends don't like me anymore.
No, literally. She's like, she died alone, and nobody really is going to, like, have a funeral for her. And nobody really cares or knows that she died here, honestly.
And we found out whenever, but we don't really know when it actually happened. We don't know anything about it. But my friends are blaming me, and I'm upset.
But my friends won't talk to me at school. What?
Maybe it's because your friends have seen how you've reacted in the past, and you're probably shading yourself in a good light, which is saying something because everyone thinks you're in the wrong.
Literally everyone.
And
I find it, like, absolutely insane that, like, at no point in this he was like, maybe I was wrong. Like, there was never a maybe.
He never, like, decided to take blame. And the funny part too about just the beginning, when we're talking about, like, how they came about this arrangement that they were thinking about in the beginning, was that he agreed to it. Whose idea was it to sponsor her?
Like, he literally proposed the idea. He literally
it's not like
was
she
like,
forced
hey, babe.
you into it. She probably was like, and he even said she didn't want him to think that she was staying with him for the visa. And then my question is, what actually changed? Because that whole, like, The financial responsibility. What is that? Well, I think it coincides with why you didn't propose to her.
Right.
For 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
It's pretty clear cut. Ugh, that's tragic, though.
Because at the end of the day, you're 5 years in, you can't propose so that y'all can have that 90-day fiance. People have proposed for less. Let's talk about that.
People, and I'm just like, also, it's a document.
Seriously.
Also, you can just do it, and if things didn't work out, that's fine. It's not like you have to, like, you were forced to live together.
Literally. It's absolutely, my heart
Tragic.
literally goes out to that poor girl and her
Terrible.
family. And I hope that someone gets this man some help. Because he's obviously sick. Like, what?
I hope you go to therapy.
No, seriously.
I hope that you have a really good talk with someone who you find that you deem not biased, that tells you that you're wrong.
Because
helps you self-reflect.
The entire internet, your friends, everybody on the planet is
that's my thing. If you're telling the story from your side, if you are telling the story completely from your side and people don't agree with you, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Imagine
if you are shading it from your perspective and people don't agree with you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the comments on that update are atrocious because it's just
let me say something. People
terrifying.
ate him alive. Guys, I'll link it in the description and you guys can go and see the comments.
And I just think, like, he's like, oh, I'm really broken up about it. I'm like, did you really care about her?
No, like, I need you to understand how wrong he is. He's so wrong that he was voted the biggest AH of 2022. Like,
I agree.
Seriously. Because
I find it hard to believe this can top that.
No,
because the fact that you don't even seem that broken up about it. I mean, I'm sure you were shocked. But I mean, I'm sure you were like, well, thank God she paid me some money for my student loans and the trouble of me thinking of doing.
Because there's literally a comment that was like, the fact that your only acknowledgement of her death was, obviously, I'm devastated too. And
obviously.
He was like,
if you have to say obviously, let's think about that.
Yeah.
Maybe let's reflect on you needing to say, well, obviously.
Like, I don't know, something about that was just giving very much. It's not obvious,
terrible.
babe. It's just really not.
If you have to state that, you're clearly not broken up enough about it.
No, like, offense. Literally. Like, please. Oh, please, let me. Okay. Let's move on to one that's less serious.
Absolutely.
Equally enraging.
Okay.
Equally enraging. We're not going to want to cry. We're not going to, our heart's not going to hurt, but you will want to personally go unpack someone's house to help them move out. So, okay. My wife is considering leaving me over a difference of opinion. My wife, 29 female, is saying she isn't sure she wants to stay with me after this. I, 32 male, grew up with a stay-at-home mom, and honestly, I think more kids deserve to. When I was dating my now wife, I told her this. She told me she never wanted to do that because she worked very hard to get her job, and that if that was a deal breaker, we should call it off now. I thought about it, but decided no, I didn't want to call it off. We got married 3 years ago. Well, we did discuss a compromise, and since our company gives good maternity leave for the US anyway, and with vacation time saved up, she would be able to take a year. I thought within that time frame, I could convince her that it would be better to quit and stay at home.
Oh my God.
We were about to stop her birth control and start trying, and I mentioned that exactly. My wife was upset. She said she made it clear while we were dating she never planned to do that, and the fact that I thought I could manipulate her otherwise was upsetting. I said I couldn't help but feel she was being selfish by not putting kids before her job. She said if it was so important, why didn't I quit? She makes more anyway. That's always been a bit of a sore spot for me, and I just repeated she was being selfish. She said the only person being selfish was me, and not to worry about it. I wasn't sure what that was supposed to mean, but we stopped talking then. Yesterday, she said she was going to stay on her birth control and she needed time to consider if she wanted to stay married to someone who misled her by saying it wasn't an issue, then trying to force the subject later. She left and is staying with her brother's family. How can I talk to her so she'll see that I can't help but be disappointed that she isn't even willing to consider staying at home? Now let me read the update before we get into this. It's just like one small paragraph. I feel like it'd be good. Yeah.
I'm dying on the inside.
Right.
So.
Oh, please. I expected this to be torture. Yeah. Update. I'm not a misogynist. My opinion on a mother staying at home might not be popular, but it doesn't make it wrong. I did not try to manipulate my wife. I was merely hopeful she'd come around to the idea. I don't know why people are writing their own narrative for this. As for why I don't quit, it's generally not acceptable in our area to be a stay-at-home dad.
What? Okay. Okay, we're gonna dissect this from the inside out. First, my little disclosure is that I have my own personal opinion in terms of like stay-at-home parents, but obviously in general I think that if you want to be a stay-at-home mom or dad, great. Make that choice for yourself. If you don't, also great. I think that it should be solely up to the individual parents and their agreement with their partners. So I just would like to make that apparent before I start commenting on it.
I completely agree.
I just think I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss.
The knuckle cracking.
I can't. I just think the way that like you liked having a stay-at-home mom, great. That was your experience. Your wife said flat out when you were dating, I don't want that, period. And you thought to yourself, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll just convince her later.
Mm-hmm. He said, small bump in the road.
He said, you know what? It's fine. You know, she'll probably change her mind. And the fact that in your update you say, I was not manipulating her, and you flat out, I seem to recall well, I mean, she got maternity leave for like a year. We had our kid. And I thought that was going to be enough time to try and convince her why she should be a stay-at-home mom. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That kind of sounds like you were hoping that she would change her mind.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe it. It's just, to me, I also think the fact that if he's so absolutely adamant about the children having a parent at home, the fact that she suggests, why don't you do it? And his response is, I don't think that's not normal. That's not normal. That's not acceptable.
That's not normal for our area. So then you don't care about your kids, right?
I know. I'm like, well, why don't you do it? She makes more money anyway.
That's a sore spot, though, Avery. Why
No, okay, because it's a sore spot for you. Mm-hmm. Sounds like someone's a little insecure how much they make.
Sounds like he needs his wife to stay at home so he doesn't outshine.
Exactly.
Him.
I'm just like, again, and reiterating, it's absolutely your choice of what you want to do in terms of parenting dynamics, who works, who doesn't work. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous to expect your spouse, who clearly said that she was not interested in it, to fulfill that role when she clearly stated otherwise. Ridiculous. Yeah. On par with, oh, you know, I wanted kids, she didn't, I thought I could convince her. Mm-hmm. Now she's trapped with your child. Thank God, not a second.
Like, literally.
Thank God you had that conversation before she went off.
Oh, seriously. Oh, my gosh.
Oh, God. And comments?
Consensus? My favorite comment, and it's the top comment, so probably right now. It says, dude, I am a stay-at-home mom, and you're so wrong. You're the most wrong because of the way you titled this. You don't even have a difference of opinion. You have radically different visions for how a family should look, and you have no respect for her or her vision, and she absolutely should not have children with you.
100%.
Now, this is the portion where you learn that I am pro breakup. I am pro breaking up. She doesn't even have a kid to tie herself to him.
I just think that that's pretty hard to get around.
Exactly.
I mean, I would feel pretty deceived. And, like, now I'm stuck with you. Well, sounds like you're making enough money
to not be stuck.
Yeah. No.
More than him.
And yeah, I completely agree, though, because it's not a difference of opinion. It's a fundamental difference on parenting.
Yeah.
And, yeah. I just think to, like, force that on someone is a big decision. Being a stay-at-home mom or dad is a huge decision that should be made by that person willingly, not made for you.
His account was suspended, so we can't see his comments.
Naturally.
Of course, you know.
You got those.
On to the next story. AITA for getting my job back to get out of taking care of my husband's autistic niece. My husband, 30 male, became the legal guardian to his sister's daughter, 17 female, 2 months ago. She lost her single mom last year. My in-laws took her in, but they were too old. That was when my husband became her legal guardian, despite my concerns. He told me that he would take care of her completely. We got married a year ago after 15 years of dating. I had a very successful career in a very physically and mentally demanding field. I had to travel a lot. We wanted to start a family, and I agreed to be a stay-at-home mom. I quit my job a few months into the marriage when I got pregnant. Sadly, I had a miscarriage. Then his sister died, and everything is on hold. In the meantime, I took a part-time job in a related field, which allows me remote work, so that I'm not bored out of my mind. My sister-in-law was a nurse. She quit her job to take care of her daughter full-time. Her daughter has a variety of issues, including nonverbal autism and a series of developmental disorders, like dyslexia and severe sensory issues. My husband says he does most of the work, but he doesn't. Since I'm working from home part-time, most of the caretaking falls to me. She gets angry and has meltdowns all the time. She doesn't like the food I make, and most of the time she ends up throwing the food at the floor or at me. I am at my wit's end, and I'm just so emotionally exhausted. Around December 15th, my husband was working late and asked me to take care of dinner. She's very picky about food. The slightest change in texture or taste from what she's used to can cause a meltdown. She threw a plate at my feet and I ended up bleeding. At that point, I called my husband and asked him to be home as soon as possible. He said he wouldn't be able to. I went up to my room and told him I'm not dealing with this anymore. He came home hours later and she was still crying. He was absolutely furious at me. He called me heartless and irresponsible. And I told him I've had enough of both of their ungrateful behavior. I told him I'm going to my mom's and wouldn't be back until New Year's. He panicked and tried to apologize, but I left. He called me every day and asked me to come back. I finally came back and he told me that my stunt had forced him to use all of his available leaves to stay at home with her. He told me that he was glad I was back. I told him I had contacted my former company and got my old job back, and it starts next Monday. It's in office and requires a lot of travel. He asked me who was supposed to stay at home as she could not be left alone. He has no more leaves and full-time caretakers are too expensive. I told him he promised to take care of everything when he became her guardian and that it was his problem. As you can guess, my family supports me and his family thinks I'm being extremely selfish. So I'm asking judgment from impartial strangers. AITA?
Wow. There's a lot going on there.
Oh, it gets worse.
Okay, great. But prior to update, it's tricky because it's like you want to believe that someone would be able to like take on that sacrifice because clearly this is like a unforeseen circumstance and it's tragic. His sister died and like what are you gonna do, right? The in-laws are too old. At the same time though, I think to ask your partner to do that when you made the verbal commitment that like you were going to be the one to take care of her, and now putting that on your spouse is also really tough. I think that's, I don't think that she's right in the way she was treating the niece, because it definitely seems like she doesn't seem like she has obviously an experience with working with someone who is disabled. And, you know, I think some of the behaviors in that were not okay, but I think it's so hard to throw the blame on her when it's like, she didn't really sign up for that. Mm-hmm. That's a lot to put on somebody to now become a caretaker in that way. Yeah. And for him to be like upset, and for him to now not be able to take care of her. I just think, what's wrong with her going back to her job and you taking care of her?
Exactly.
And it seems like she's also been someone who was really passionate about her career. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's like, I think both people are kind of in the wrong in some ways in this situation.
That's great that you think that. But I'm gonna let's go through this a little bit systematically. Okay. Let's start here with, oh my gosh, it's tragic. It's so tragic that this young girl lost her mom. Obviously nobody wanted that. But something I couldn't slide past is the 15 years of dating.
Oh yeah.
It says something about the situation that I can't really understand.
Because how old are they?
They didn't 30. Her husband is at least 30. I don't know how old she is, but her husband's 30 years old.
So they've been dating since they're 15.
Since they were 15.
And they're 30 now and they're not?
And now they just got married.
That is a little weird.
Yeah. I don't, what was the wait? But that's
I could excuse 10 years if you're 30.
Me personally, the wait, I think, is him trying to see if there's something better. That was the wait. That's not my business.
Ooh. I mean, 15 years is a long
15 years is a long time. So, but that's whatever. And then right after her miscarriage, let's just throw her in the water to become a caretaker. Something she's never done before in her life.
Terrible. Yeah, 100%. I think where I get stuck is when he says he made the commitment that it was going to be on him and then placing it all on her. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know that anytime you become the caretaker of her, you know that you, speaking for the wife, are going to have to be taking on some of that responsibility. Even if the husband says he's taking on all of it, it doesn't really matter. You will still be taking it on. But what was like the discussion prior to this is my question. Exactly. Like they talked about it, she said he became her legal guardian despite my concerns. I personally think, I fully believe that moving somebody into your house should be a 2 yeses type of situation. And it's terrible because she is family. And so it's like, you don't want to be the person who's like, where does she go?
My thing is, like, if it's so deep, I know that this sounds crazy, but like, move out. Because like, when I'm trying to think about like my own family, like, say God forbid, my sibling had to live needed to live with me, right? And my spouse was like, no, I'm down to move out and get an apartment with them, and you can cover this rent. You know what I mean? Because obviously, like, they need me right now. And I totally get that might not be feasible for you, but I'm down to move out. You know what I mean? And it's not like an ultimatum.
Right.
But like, at the same time, I just think it should be 2 yeses. Like, I don't think you can, especially someone that they have to take care of.
100%. Because it's not just any kid. It's a kid that requires a lot of extra attention, and knowing how to handle someone who is autistic, like working with someone, like that's incredibly difficult.
And on top of that, she's violent. And it's not that, like, to shame her. Tough. The girl, but she said that she literally hurt her. And so she obviously was unable to cope. Like, her running upstairs, because she said that she was bleeding and she was at her breaking point. I was like, to me, I think that this is a cry for help. The fact that he's just like, immediately, let's throw her back into it. That stunt you pulled. Come on.
It's just, I think what would have been a better solution is getting someone to be a caretaker. Would have been a better solution than to put it on the wife. Yep. That's when you need to hire somebody.
Him leaving work and her going back to work would have always been a great solution, because she never wanted to take care of her.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just because she wanted to be a mother doesn't mean she's equipped to just like be thrown into something else that she had no time to prepare for. Sounds like she wasn't firmly yes on anyway. It stinks, because it's like, you want to be able to, like, in a perfect world, have someone be okay and be able to do that and step up. But I mean, it sounds like she didn't really want it from the get-go.
But me personally, I don't think that'd be a perfect role if she just were to step up. I think
no, I mean, if she was wanted to.
Yeah,
I mean.
if she was like wanted to and was equipped. Like, you know.
I agree.
But yeah,
I agree.
Okay, there's an update. Okay, she says a lot of people were messaging me for an update, so here it goes. I wish I could say things got better. My husband took a few days off to interview special needs nannies and caretakers. He ended up finding a good experienced person to take the job. He hired her from 9 to 6 during weekdays. One day, she ended up saying she cannot make it for a couple of days due to an emergency. My husband had a meeting he couldn't miss and asked me to look after his niece for the day. I refused, and he took my car keys while it was still getting ready and left before I noticed, so that I could not get to work. I grew up with a narcissistic and gaslighting father who did stuff like this all the time. I told him to come back in 1 hour or I'll call CPS, and once I get here, I will call a cab and get to work. He ended up driving back and this turned into a big fight. I told him that if he did this again, I will walk out and never look back. He apologized and said that he was just desperate. The worst happened 2 weeks ago. So it gets worse.
Oh, it gets worse than that.
That's
all
crazy.
right.
That's crazy. I needed to travel for a couple of weeks for work. I could not find my passport. I'm a very organized person. I knew I did not misplace it. I ended up calling the non-emergency helpline. They ransacked the house and found the passports hidden in his gym bag. Right? It's a crime to steal passports, and they asked me if I wanted to press charges.
Yes. Sorry.
It's so funny. It just means yes. Well, I said no. Another fight. Please, the dramatic writing.
Another fight.
The way she knows how to write this, like, seriously.
A short story.
No, seriously. He told me that he needed me to stay home that weekend due to a social welfare visit, and he knew I would not stay even if he asked me. I kicked them both out of my house and told him I would call the police if he came near me again. My house is a premarital asset. Thank God for that. I told him that I would be filing for divorce. The welfare visit went sour as neither of them were living there when the worker showed up. The social worker also knew about the recent call to the non-emergency helpline. So all in all, she was not impressed with our BS. He came by 2 days ago. He told me he ended up moving in with his parents. They own and live in a small 2-bedroom apartment. They don't qualify according to welfare norms. He asked if I'd be willing to consider letting him and his niece stay until they figured out their living situation, or she would have to go into the state's care. He told me that there is no way he can afford rent and a carer, and begged me. I told him I could never forgive what he did. He knew my past with my father and still went ahead and did it. He suggested that they could move in and we could work on this at couples counseling. I told him I could never trust him again and that it was over. He told me if he could get his parents to take in the niece or even relinquish her care to the state, if I would give him another chance. I think months worth of anger burst that day. I told him that even though it may appear as if the problem between us is his niece, it was actually him. He didn't ask me before taking her in. He did nothing to help. He waved my concerns away whenever I felt burnt out. He took on a responsibility without consulting me and dumped everything on me. He chose to take my keys. He chose to hide my passport. I told him things may have been different. Him, niece, and I may have adapted and become a family if he didn't make the wrong choice at my expense at every turn. I told him to get out of my house. It was over, and I never want to see any of them ever again. I still don't know if what I'm doing is right or wrong. I know people wanted some sort of happy ending, but it is what it is. I still have not started divorce proceedings yet, but I will soon. For now, I'm taking a break as it has been a very emotional and draining couple of weeks.
I'd like to rescind my support for the spouse, for the husband, formally, after that update. I don't think I fully grasped the situation. Because, oh my God, I completely agree with her. The fact that he hid her keys and left, then he hid her passport. That really did it over the edge for me.
That was too much.
Oh, God. That was terrible.
Literally.
Terrible. As I said before, it should have been a nanny. And I think even what should have predated that was the fact that you can't just expect your spouse to all of a sudden become a caretaker, especially to a child who has, like, significantly more needs that you need more experience with than even just a regular child. So I think that she should have been on board from the get-go. They should have gotten a nanny, or he should have quit work and she should have been working. I think that there was many steps before the crazy things that I think should have happened, and I don't blame her at all. And I hope she gets on that divorce, because...
No. She's like, I know you guys were expecting a happy ending.
Who was expecting a happy ending?
No, but that is a happy ending.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, that's a happy ending, babe. You're free. You didn't know that this man, when the pressure was on, would become abusive. And look, when the pressure was on, he became abusive, and you found yourself able to get away the first time. You know how long it takes for people who are in abusive relationships to get away? This is impressive.
We see how many times people sit there, and I'm sure in these stories they'll sit there with this person that is clearly not taking advantage of them, and they just continue to sit with it because they don't know, or they're scared, or tons of different factors. So the fact that she did that from the get-go is impressive.
Extremely so.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all the stories we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and comment down below and subscribe. That's all from me today. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.